Welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and I'm going to help you find the clarity, confidence, and courage to become the coach that you are meant to be. If you're a new coach, or if you've always wanted to be a life coach, then this is the place for you. We're going to talk all about mindset and strategies and how to, because step by step only works when you have the clarity, courage, and confidence to take action. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. I am so glad that you're here this week. I've got a special guest with me, and her name is Rachael O'Meara. Now, tell you a little bit about Rachael, but before I do, I wanted to talk about sort of the chance that we meet someone. So Rachael and I, we don't know each other normally, but we were introduced by a common acquaintance, and we got together a couple of months ago for just a little chat. And I know you're going to really love this conversation. We had a great conversation when we met the first time. I really liked her. I loved her vibe. And so that's why I was so excited to have her on the show. So Rachael, let me describe what you are, who you are, and some of your experience. She's got the MBA and MA. She's an ACC, and she is an executive coach renowned for empowering successful leaders with proven tools and strategies to excel without the overwhelm. With over a decade at Google, she brings invaluable insights into effective leadership and self-awareness. She's the co-founder of SIC Venture Studio. Rachael drives innovation at the intersection of leadership and entrepreneurship. She has an acclaimed book called Pause, and it is a pivotal resource for career growth. She's been featured on the New York Times and on TEDx stages. She inspires audiences worldwide with her transformative approach to leadership and personal development. Rachael, so glad that you're here on the show, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Hi, Candy. Thank you for having me today. I love your presence and your groundedness that you're bringing today. I'm just right here with you. Thank you.
Great. And we're kind of giggling because you won't hear it, listeners, but I kind of made a mistake when I was introducing her to begin with. And my tongue didn't work with my brain or my eyes. And so we're just kind of getting over that. That will stay in the episode because I really want people to hear like a real conversation, not a conversation that's all snipped and trimmed and, tried to be made perfect. A conversation between people. So Rachael, you got a whole bunch of background, and you've got a lot of background in the corporate space and this intersection where you bring the leadership principles and personal development to help leaders, coaches, individuals live these much more balanced life. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story. Can you tell us how you got to where you are?
Yeah, and probably like a lot of the listeners, you out there, I didn't choose to be a coach. It wasn't on my radar to just like, hey, I'm going to be a coach. In fact, I really just found it by accident. For me, let's take a trip in time go back about a dozen years ago. I was working at Google. My whole career had been in the corporate space. I worked at various companies and then Google for 13 years. And about 2 years in, I really wasn't doing great. I was managing client services. I was managing a team, and I was getting feedback. I wasn't doing very well. In fact, my manager, who had the best intentions for me, would tell me almost on a daily basis, hey, Rachael, you're not communicating effectively. You're not communicating in up and down and across the org in the way that we need. Your executive presence isn't there. You're not managing the team in the deliverables that really we're looking for you to execute on. So I would hear this feedback, and probably like a lot of you as well, I was a high achiever. So for me, like you said, I had the MBA, I had lived in New York and owned a place in San Francisco. I was a national champion rower. And for me to get this feedback was the first time in my history. So to me, I was really shocked. I was a little bit taken aback. And so what did I do? I just tried harder. It's like that move and muscle through it rowing energy. And so I'd show up and walk down those streets in San Francisco to the Google office thinking this day will be different. I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to try harder. And then about 2, 3 p.m., some comment would come in, or I thought someone looked at me funny in the meeting. And then off I'd go in my own tailspin, thinking terribly about things. And so one day, my manager finally sat me down and said, Rachel, I don't know if this job is a fit for you. You might want to consider doing something different. And to me, this was my wake up call. Complete crucible moment, Candy. So I went home. It was a Friday afternoon. And I did write about this in the book, Pause. It's chapter 1, but literally decided to take a pause. I consulted with a few friends and I wanted to take that time because I didn't know what to do, but I knew whatever I was doing wasn't working. And so I went back to the office Monday. I applied for that approval of getting that time off, which is an unpaid break. And I was very fortunate that Google offered something like that. And I did get approved. I'd been at the company for a while. And so I just took that time to kind of learn about myself. And I had no training, by the way, no mindfulness training, no coaching experience. I had an MBA. I was really good at rowing. I could do stuff. So I did take that time off, and then I did return to Google and I got a new job aligned with my strengths, which was part of what my inquiry was when I took that time off. I'm like, well, what am I good at? Because I really don't know. And I forgot. I had my confidence was in the trash can. I really just didn't remember anything. And that's, I think, what happens when we burn out, when we feel exhausted and depleted mentally and emotionally. It's like we forget everything we know. And so it took that time to really revisit that. And then I stayed another 10 years at Google. And if I look back now, because now what I do is I'm a coach, as you said, and I learned I just really wasn't present for myself. Meaning I didn't know how I felt. I didn't know that I was running on fear the whole time. And I was always stuck thinking about the past or the future. It just really wasn't in the moment, the here and now, to be like, what am I feeling? Or maybe I should ask a question that would be responding to what this person is saying to me. I just would be flustered and afraid and angry and never showed up. So to me, that's what I learned. And I started studying emotional intelligence. I started going to courses in Chicago at the Wright Graduate University, where I ended up getting my master's in transformational coaching and leadership, because I realized if I can learn these skills, which I learned, I can help other people learn them too. And that's what I do now. And so that's my story. And that's why I'm so passionate about the movement of pause, because I do think if I hadn't taken that moment to be like, time out, Rachel, whether it was the Friday night or that weekend talking to my friends or the longer time, then I would have missed it. I would have taken another job. I would have gotten a new role. I would have quit probably. And then I would have been right back in my shoes and being flustered and probably wanting to quit again or do something else. And so to me, that was crazy, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And now I help other people figure that out instead of quitting.
And so there's a couple of things that are really interesting here. So when you're talking about earlier in your career with Google, you would get this feedback. And then, we've all got that. I'm a high achiever. If it's not going well, what do? I work harder, right? Like my nose gets flat because now I'm going to stick it right on the grindstone instead of, just a little bit, right? So you just think that I'm going to fix it by working harder. And the more tense we are, and I know that you teach this as well to your clients, the more tense we are, the less we're able to think, the less we are able to reason and to, find a new way. So it's really interesting that in that, aside from the time that you took away, the paid leave, but in that moment of getting the feedback and then freaking out, the thing that you actually teach people is how to handle more of those moments in their life, right? Like how to handle the times where we pause instead of reacting or working harder. It's what a gift. Like, I can imagine how hard it was. I am such a people pleaser, learning.
Me too. Raise my hand.
Yeah, right. But it's like, what could I do? How many hoops could I jump through to please you instead of getting this feedback that feels so painful? And, the Rachel who exists now in 2024, to be able to have, for you to have been present there for that version of you, to have said, hey, I got a tool for you. Like, That would have been an amazing thing. What a gift that you show up in this way. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit more about the book that you've written. You've got a journal as well, and this concept about pausing. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So Pause the book came out in 2017, but like we have been talking about, it's a timeless topic. I get people still buying it, audiobook is there, and it's my story, but it's a lot of the tools that I learned over the years in my training because it's really designed for folks in the corporate landscape who want to intentionally shift their behavior. That's what I call a pause, by the way. Define it as an intentional shift in behavior. It doesn't have to be a long break, doesn't have to cost money, doesn't have to take a lot of time, but the key is that you are intentional about it. So for me, that was really important. It took me 5 years to write it. I was at work and I did it on the weekends and I did the whole thing. And it finally, and then I got a coach for it too. So I had a writing coach who helped me really bring it to what I wanted it to be. So that came out in 2017. And then in 2022, I published Pause the Journal, which is, I'm a huge fan of journaling. Journaling's a pause, and you can have 90 days to intentionally create your dreams. This is a great exercise for anyone, right? Coaches, clients. And then I just came out with a third book, which I was a part of a collaboration for called Leading with Self-Awareness from the Inside Out. And it's all about, it's 25 individuals from the changing work community. It's a conscious work movement that I'm excited to be a part of. And we all wrote a chapter. And so mine is, it's called Beyond Myself. And it's my spiritual awakening that I had right after that pause in 2011. And I never really shared that in pause or anything because I was kind of not really sure how to share it or what it was, but that's what the story is. And that just came out. So all of that is in reference to it's okay to pause and giving ourselves permission, because that's the thing. We think we'll look like slackers. We think we're going to be falling behind because it's just the opposite what we've been taught and what we do. And we were just talking about this, Candy, before we put the record on, is our life. We have to figure out a new way of being in the world because pausing is part of that alignment. And that's really important, whether you're a coach, whether you're a mom, whether you're an adventurer, just out in the mountains, like, it's about what works for me, what's intentional, so I can align with what's needed now.
So there's, like a pause can be such a short thing. And I've got just a thought here about is that there's actually quite a few steps involved in a pause, right? Can you go through what they are? Like I've heard a few of them as you've described this, Rachel, but like there's some specific bits. Tell me about those, please.
I'd love to hear what you think too. So to me, the thing is catching it in the moment and what is going to work right now. Like, and it's going to be different for you versus me versus you in on the phone listening to this or whomever. And you're the only one who's going to know it in your unique brilliance. So for me, the first step is to catch it and to actually know, hey, what else is happening? So getting curious is really important around the moment. And so so here's the steps. Be present, because you're going to miss it unless you are present, right? So if I'm checking my emails or I'm thinking about the meeting I had where the guy looked at me funny, I'm not present. And so I might miss the opportunity to say, hang on a second, Rachel, what's going on here? So being present is really key. It's really essential. And then even knowing how you feel, I'd say, is the second step. How do I feel? You can ask yourself, I don't feel good. Maybe you don't even know how you feel. Just like, this isn't working for me. I don't know what it is, but I'm not happy. So it's maybe fear. And then there's a choice. You get to do something else. And that's the third step. So the choice might be a breath. That's a great daily pause. I have a whole list of daily pauses in the book, and they might be a weekend with your bestie, or it might be a journaling 5-minute, 2-minute write-up that you decide to do in the morning or the evening or whenever works for you. So those are some of the steps, but I love to think of it like it's intentional. So you have to think about it. And that's really key, because if we miss it, then it misses it, and you have to go back to whatever you were doing, but you may miss it the window altogether, or it might come back stronger. Like, for example, we all hear about health issues where we have a back that's really stiff, or we need a chiropractor for or something. I'm just using this as a random example. And there might have been a pause where there would have been some stretches you could do. I don't know, making this up. But the idea is that it just, it comes back louder and stronger if we aren't aware to change it up when we first initially have that insight moment.
Yeah, I love that. And so the part that I heard that it was really strong is that to notice, here's an opportunity to pause, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even though, like, you use the example of maybe there's a health concern or something that if you don't listen to it the first time, it's going to come back. The good part of that is that if we did miss that invitation to pause to begin with, it's okay because there will be another one. It's coming right on its heels. Like you haven't done anything wrong. It takes a while to get tuned into that signal of like, oh, wait a minute, something's not right. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right. So noticing something's not right and then noticing, oh, I have a tool that could help me. There's something about coaches in and corporate. So when I see corporate folks, they're so busy, right? Like we're forever on the doing treadmill,
Yeah.
as opposed to the remembering that we're being human beings doing things. And I think about the value that having just a pause could bring to anybody in the corporate environment, no matter what their role is, no matter, if they're client facing or not client facing. Have you ever done kind of an experiment where it's like, okay, I've got this team, like, let's just try what happens to the team dynamic, what happens to the individual if we just implement something like that?
Yeah, I have. So when I went back to Google, I was on a team in sales and worked for some really awesome people. And I suggested that in our team meeting, let's do a couple minutes of breathing. And you're on your own. It's like a moment, it's like a minute. I think we did like 2 minutes. And he was game. So he was willing and we did it. And it was our West Coast sales team. So it was probably like 15 people at any given time, maybe on video, maybe in the room. and and it was powerful and people really liked it. And I don't know of any other teams that did that at the time. That was probably 2018 or something like 20, I don't know, early, well, late 2010s, I guess. But to me, it was a great way for people to just be present for the meeting. And it can look and feel a lot different. And some of them can be led, some of them don't need to be led. But I think it's about what works for the team and trying things and experiment, like you said, and being willing to go there. And we would have guests in sometimes at our meeting, right? Internal people where we're like, hey, by the way, we do this weird, not weird, but we do this thing you might find weird. We're going to do 2 minutes of mindfulness if you want to join us. And then we would let people decide. So some people did, and some people were like, cool, I'll be out in the hallway. Let me know when you're done. And we had no bias about it either way. But I think when you have the choice, then people can be really opted in and excited about it. And if you force people to do that, it goes kind of the wrong way. It goes a little sideways because everyone wants autonomy and that's important to keep. So if having it opt in is the way to go, I'd say, and you get to do what you like from that way.
I love that. So maybe from a coach's perspective, can you share a few tips about pausing that new coaches or experienced coaches could use with their clients?
Yeah. And I also think this is really powerful for building your coaching business, by the way, too. So I've done that myself. And let's go to the clients first. So what I enjoy doing, I'm also a breathwork practitioner, certified breathwork practitioner. So I might ask the client, would you like to take a moment or a minute to arrive or 2 minutes, and I'll have them take 10 breaths with me. That's really exciting. And people take me up on that 90% of the time, by the way. That's an intentional shift in behavior. All of a sudden, people are ready to coach. I think that's one of the best ways to implement the pause for individuals. And from the client side as well, I think a lot of people really identify with burnout, which is what happened to me. So whether it's the client or you, knowing that, hey, I'm not feeling good right now. A pause, and it doesn't mean I take a crazy long break. That's a long pause. I define about 10 different ways like different types of pauses, but it might be, I got to move this session, or like this, like maybe I got to move this out 2 days, but hold them accountable for that too. I think the other thing I'm thinking about is if they're in their head, like if a client is really just in their head and talking about a lot of different things, I think it's important to be fully present for them and also allow them to pause in that way that works for them, right? So it's not up to me to define that, but maybe you ask a question, a powerful question, and say, how are you doing right now? Because you're sharing this. Yeah.
Yeah, all the stuff, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that, to me, that's a pause. It doesn't mean you're silent. It doesn't mean you're breathing. It's literally an intentional shift in behavior, which might mean saying something risky to someone or having a conversation that would have been not the way it would have gone otherwise. And so to me, that's great for clients in a way that you can kind of additively increase what their experience is or add to their experience. And then as a coach, sorry, I was just going to say, as a coach, yeah.
Sorry, there was just one thing, is that I can really see how those three examples, how that would really change their experience of the coaching session and also their experience of themselves, right? And so there just adds to that value of, the coaching happens in the moment, but the value of it is developed between the sessions, right? So that could be really powerful there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could use it as an assignment, right? I'm a big fan of experiential assignments between coaching sessions. And I honestly, this is funny, I've never given a pause as an assignment. I do other experiential things, but the pause would be maybe naming a feeling, name a feeling once a day. So these are pauses that can work as assignments, but you can be more specific about what they can intentionally do in that time as whatever it is in service to what they're working on.
I like that idea. And I think it's a great homework accountability for people. And then what was that experience like? Identifying your feeling once a day for 5 days,
Gotta go.
whatever,
Oh, I
right?
totally forgot about it. That's what I hear a lot. I forgot. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let's chat about that one. What
Yeah.
happened?
It's because you're living from the chin up instead of including your body in any of it, right?
Exactly.
One of the other pauses that I think would be really helpful, and this is just from a coaching technique, is like lots of times we ask the client a question and then they answer. And then there's this little gap. And for the coach to pause, like physically pause and not ask the next question, not give that feedback, not, sort of, but just and see what else comes up for the client, right? So for the coach, there's the value of the pause, the physical pause, to just allow space and to relax. And then from the client side, there could be really great things that they learn from, like, oh my gosh, I have to fill in this gap. What's going on here, right? It's silent instead of asking me another question. So great coaching tool too.
I love that. The power of silence. That's a really good.
Yeah. And you said that you've also got some ideas from the building a coaching business side as well. What would you suggest there?
Yeah. So I would think of these as applying it to yourself. So what pausing activities are you interested to pursue for you that will serve you in your business? So it might be, for me, it's a 15-minute meditation in the morning, or, it's reading something that really inspires me and then journaling on it. So that's a pause. It can be also transition. So if you've got a client, or maybe you're leading a group coaching course, which is something I love to do myself, then pause and make sure you're in a place that you're going to go in fully there or energized or whatever. Even Candy, before a session, you took your 10 seconds and pause to collect yourself and be in a really grounded space. That is incredible. And I think we think that everyone's doing that, and I hope everyone is, but it's also like I'm busy. Life is in session. So Saturday morning when I'm up early, am I going to do that? Maybe, maybe not. But I know it's the 80-20 rule I can apply. And so to me, if I can intersperse pausing, intentional shifts in behavior in my day, even doing something off the schedule, like that's a pause, right? I have this huge schedule and then someone's like, hey, go to lunch. Well, would this serve me in my highest good? Yeah, I'd love to see this person. I'm going to have fun, going to eat really well, and I'm going to cancel these two meetings and move them because they're not urgent. So those are some ideas that I have as you say that.
I like that. So using it before a session, using it at the start of your day. And I think, like building a business takes effort and time. And, we're often kind of knee deep in the business
Yeah.
stuff, the strategy and the tactics and all that jazz. But if you could pause and get in aligned, get grounded, and then am I like to remind yourself of what you're actually creating so that instead of maybe having to do the work twice, you could just do it once. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're just going to be more effective, I think. That's my personal opinion. But if you're able to really align, that's really all it is. It's not really anything other than am I on track? Am I doing what I need to do here? Or would this serve me in the bigger part of my day, in my energy space, like having what I need in terms of being effective and productive, then that I think is the answer. It's like, yeah, then like let me go for it. And this is the other part. There's no prescription. It's about what works for you. And I can't stress that enough. Because if I go out for a walk, maybe you're allergic to the trees, Candy, and you don't want to go. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be for you. You have to
Yeah.
find what works for you and then make it nourishing, right? Like enjoy it, be present for it. And from there, I think it can really, really serve us. I mean, imagine when we're in that space, what we create versus that stress ball moment of, I have another 6 meetings. What am I going to do? That's my stress in my head.
And I think the other piece that I'm really hearing from you is the shifting out of automatic, like shifting from
Uh-huh.
automatic to conscious and intentional with and being present, being fully present in your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the emotional field is also really important here where we're bodies, as you said, we have this whole world from the chin down, and we can tap into it for intelligence that maybe we miss or not be present for. At least for me, I know this was my case. I was such a like a head person living in the corporate world. And I think a lot of us are. I mean, that's kind of what we're trained in, most of us. And for me, I was probably conditioned really early in my age. It's not okay to feel certain feelings,
Mm-hmm.
anger, fear, even probably hurt. Or sadness. So maybe joy was it for me. And then I got that and it was great. But then all these other feelings never really learned how to connect with them in my body. And that's what pausing can do. That is the next level of pausing. And I think it's, we all know in an innate level that, hey, yeah, this sounds great. I know I need to do it. But then how are we doing on the application side? That's where the
Right.
rubber the road.
Right. So if somebody is listening to this and they're kind of new to this concept of pausing, where do they start? What's the best way for them to start?
Yeah. I love that it's really just being curious for themselves. And then I think the book is a great way to start. Check out my story or some skills. And I think just that noticing those moments and getting curious is important. And then know that it's uncomfortable, really. And I have a really good guidebook to start with that. It's available for free on my site. It's called Three Keys to Turn Burnout into Thriving. And it talks about the 5 primary feelings that I use with all my clients. It's training people to connect their mind and their body more, to pause, and I think it's a great start for learning this world that can be really informative for what you do next in the
And I
day.
think it'll really transform their life as well. Rachel, we've covered so much great stuff, and I know that you've got this free resource on your site. Can you tell people, share with them, how can they come more into your world? How can they learn more about what you do?
Yeah, I think the guide is a great start. So if you've got that, great. You'll get on my email list from there. I also have a podcast, which Candy, you're going to be a guest on very soon, called the Pausecast. I do a lot of tools based in emotional intelligence, neuroscience, things that we use in coaching all the time. I just recorded a breathwork episode and I have guests on there. So that's a great place to find me, and LinkedIn and Instagram, all
Awesome.
those things.
I'll make sure to put all those links in the episode notes as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Really enjoyed the conversation. And also, you really reminded me of, this place of like being curious and intentional, and that it shifts everything for us. Like it shifts
Yeah.
everything, right? Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Candy. And thank you for having me, hosting me. And I'm excited for all of you listening as coaches, because you're changing the world one person at a time.
So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. It has been an amazing conversation. I would highly recommend that you check out Rachel's site, download her free resource, and start to use the pause in your day-to-day with your clients and with your business. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll be back to talk to you again next week.
Thanks again for listening today. Please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Also, I would love to hear from you. Did something that I say resonate? What else would you like to learn about? Click the link in the player and leave a comment on the post. This is going to give me great ideas for future episodes so I can help you best. Join me again next week for more coaching, support, and teaching to help you become the confident coach you are meant to be. Hey, it's Candy. Did you know that I have a quiz to help coaches choose their niche? Yeah, I do. It's super popular, and it has been taken more than 20,000 times. This is a fun quiz that takes you about 2 minutes to do, and it will probably give you way more clarity on choosing your best coaching niche. So now, whether you say niche or niche, it's going to work for you. And if you're a coach and you have been stuck in niche indecision, wondering what to do, then you should take my quiz and find out what you learn. You can take the quiz today at coachnichequiz.com. That's coachnichequiz.com. Okay, let's dive into this week's episode.